Welcome, everybody, to the Epic Photography Podcast. I'm Dave Williams, and your other co-host today joining me is Scott Kelby. Hi, Scott.
What's up?
Yo.
That was my rap welcome. What's up?
I like it.
I'm young.
We've actually got a really cool episode today. So this episode is an evening one, and you've just been on the grid, and I've been watching very closely, because something amazing has just landed in the Platypod world. What is this thing? This brand new Platypod Extreme.
Not the red thing.
In fact, I'm not the red thing on top. That's the Platypod. This Extreme. In fact, I was gonna ask you something. I'm gonna ask you something else. How did the name come about?
Well, I suggested...
Is that anything to do with you?
I suggested some names, because it is that next level, right? And so I just threw out a bunch of names, and Larry, who is a dear friend and the creator of the Platypod and all that, and all this whole ecosystem that has grown around it. It's like a whole community and ecosystem and everything, and other products and stuff that he grew out of it. He's for people that don't know Larry, he is a pediatrician by day. Mm-hmm. But I think if you asked him, what do you love? It's photography. Like, he loves photography, and he's very passionate about making tools for photographers. And so the original product was the big Platypod, the big one, the Pro. Well, it was called the Max, and then it was called the Pro. And it's just a very large base for you to sit your ball head on, and then your camera on, to be able to put your camera in places you wouldn't normally get to, or they wouldn't allow you to use a tripod. So it's a tripod replacement, but very, very clever. So then he came out with the Ultra. So you have the Big Pro, and then you have the Ultra, which the Ultra literally fits in your shirt pocket. I can literally put it in the pocket of my shirt or in the pocket of my jacket, and it's that small and lightweight. It's made of commercial aircraft aluminum. But the thing about it was a huge improvement over the Max, even though it's smaller, because it had all of these input from all of these photographers, people like Dave Williams, all around the world, that were like, hey, you got to do this and you got to do that. And what if you could strap it to a tree? And what if you had this and that and the other? Yeah.
Or nail it to something, or screw it to something. Or, there's so many things. There's all these things.
And so the Ultra came out, and it had all these neat things, and it's small size and all. But then you have the original kind of sitting there with the old design. So what we saw birthed today was a mixing of the two, but then taking it to another level. So the Extreme looks like a big Ultra, but they added some stuff that Dave will show you that makes it brilliant.
So it is kind of the size of a Max, kind of. It's a tiny, tiny bit smaller.
Yeah, it is a little smaller.
But it's also about 20% lighter than a Max. Mm-hmm. And that's because of all these holes and grooves and cuts and things like that. But these are the things you were saying about why it's like a big version of an Ultra, because these weren't here on the Max. These holes were smaller. There was less option and less opportunity. So now we've got places to attach it to our camera bag or to our waist belts with a carabiner, or we can literally attach this to a tripod. I'm trying to find good use cases for that, but I've been told there are some. You can put a loop through here, so you can attach it to the tree or the lamppost, or even like something bigger, like a bonnet of a car with the plate that goes underneath. But the thing that's blown my mind about this...
What's a bonnet?
What's bonnet?
Is that like a hat like you wear at Easter?
It's what the rest of the world calls a hood. While we're on this topic, there's the bumper around the edge. I think you call it a fender. That's a bumper. The thing in the back where your shopping goes, which
that's the
groceries.
The trunk. That's the trunk.
That's the boot. And the thing that goes on the tire to stop you moving, that's not a boot. That's a clamp. Anyway, I know. I'm so sorry. Blowing your mind here with...
My mind is blown.
But anyway, while we're speaking about blowing minds, it's these spikes that have really done it for me.
That's it. That's the thing.
So where it was attached on the top with a little magnetic clip mount, and you had to undo it and take your screws out and screw them through. They're already there. You just put the notches in place and the screws are down. And I found a great use for this. I don't know if Larry showed you the photo. I'm sure he showed it just now in the grid of me using this on an ice wall in Iceland. And I had it about 60 degrees. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
With a Nikon Z6 on top, on a platypod, with a 14 to 24 mil lens. No, a 24 to 70 lens. Quite heavy. On the ice. And it was just the spikes, the 4 spikes that were making the contact and holding the thing in place. Absolutely perfectly. Strong as anything. Solid as a rock. To the point where I genuinely trusted my gear there. I mean, it's awesome.
Well,
so
that's one of the big things.
These use cases for the new version, the Extreme, but the Platypod has so many good use cases anyway, with or without those angled spiked feet.
Yeah, but can I say something about the spikes though? Because the spikes thing is a bigger thing than I think people think of. Because we've had the spikes always. We've always had spikes, but when you wanted to use them, you had to go pull them all out, screw each individual one in, screw it in, and then you would change them and level them and stuff, right? And so now what I think is so brilliant is they are there all the time, but it has a little notch that it clicks into. So you in your day-to-day use, you would have no interaction with them or they wouldn't do anything at all. But when you want them, they're instantaneous. You just go beep, 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 and it's there. And I remember I was with Dave in Austria at a waterfall in the countryside, and there's all these rocks in the front and stuff. And I had to borrow. I didn't have my spikes with me. I'm like having to go around. Dave, can I borrow your spikes? Eric, do you have spikes I can borrow? Who's got spikes? And I had to screw them all, and I'm standing there screwing them in. Now your spikes are always with you. You don't have to worry about, did I remember to bring them? Did I put them on the pod? And the way they tuck away, so there's a little tiny notch. So when they go, they don't just tuck up, but they go click. They kind of click into it's very well
points.
Yeah, the little points in there, and they're very well designed. So, and what that allows you to do is like Dave's talking about shooting on that chunk of ice, but they allow you to use any surface. You know, if you're on the rocks or you're on a tree stump or whatever you want, it's going to be rock solid. It really does an amazing job. So if you're on a flat surface, you're covered. If you're on a rocky, weird surface, you're covered. And that's what's in this one. So now what I want them to do is to go back to the Ultra.
Right.
And add those little, because I have so many Ultras. Like I have 4 of them or something, because they go with me everywhere. Like I got a trip coming up, and that thing. Yesterday I had a Zoom call with the people on my workshop, and my first question was, does anybody here not have a Platypod? Every single one of them. Because I thought, I'll bring one for you. If you don't have one, I'll bring an extra one. I'll throw it in my bag. That way you have one to use. Every single person in that group, 12 of them, all had Platypods. And I'm like, there you go.
That's why the Platypod is so good. It's because often the products that succeed and that do the best are the things that are simple, that are filling a gap that you didn't necessarily know there was a gap for. It's solving a problem you didn't necessarily know you had. And so the Platypod, when it came onto when I first noticed it come onto the scene, I was thinking about security guards, because I was living in London at the time, shooting a lot in London, and I was constantly hassled by security guards.
Constantly.
And with my background, I knew that they had absolutely no basis for doing what they were doing from a legal standpoint, but they just insisted at every point, you can't put it here, health and safety, someone's going to trip over, all these ridiculous reasons. And so whether you like it or not, and whether it's right or not, a lot of places will ban tripods. And
absolutely,
the Platypod is not a tripod. So, and it just, that you could see them looking at you going, I know there's something wrong with this, but it's not a tripod, so I can't do anything.
Dude, I don't know what it is. If it doesn't have legs, they don't care. Yeah. Like they just look. I was shooting in the Vatican, right? So I'm in Rome. I'm in the Vatican, which is not technically in Rome. I know. Don't have to put it in the chat. I know it's in Vatican City, which is an independent country within Italy. I know. So anyway, I bring it in and I get in first thing in the morning and I go right down this big major thoroughfare and I set up my Platypod and 2 security guards walk up and they look at it and they looked at it and just kept going. They didn't even go, hey, wait a minute, what a minute. And so I'm putting it on top of railings. And I see all these people. It's kind of dark in there. It's a big cathedral. It's a massive, massive cathedral. You could probably put Notre Dame in there 4 or 6 times. It's just so big.
It's enormous.
It's an absolutely enormous cathedral I've ever seen. And I'm putting that thing everywhere. Everybody else is hand holding and trying to shoot in this low light with 2-second exposures.
When I was there, I was bracketing for that very reason. Yeah.
And it was great. And I've shot it in all of my time. And I've shot that Platypod everywhere in all different countries and all different situations. It goes everywhere I go. I do not do a shoot on location without it. Only one time has there ever been an issue, and it was not caused by the Platypod. It was caused by my buddy. So I am in a library in
we were in
Portugal.
Austria. That library was in.
No, it wasn't the Admont Sif. No, it was in Portugal.
Oh, okay.
All right, and
yes, I remember.
Yep. So we go to this library. And I put down the Platypod and I start shooting. And the security guard walks over, looks at it, shrugs and goes away. Then there was the angry woman that's just there to be angry. She looked at it. She really gave it a hard look and looked at me like, what are you trying to pull? And I'm like, I'm just a guy with a Platypod. So I'm shooting. I'm getting all these shots. I'm doing HDRs. I'm doing long exposures. I'm doing all this stuff in this beautiful, beautiful library. And then my friend says, you're leaning over to press the shot. You're leaning down. Why don't we connect a cable? Why don't we connect a cable release? Now, I have an app, right? I have a wireless app. I could have just sat there, bink, which I will often do.
This was just when you got your hands on a mirrorless Canon, wasn't it?
Yep, it was the Canon R,
all
the original
fancy apps and everything were there.
Yep, I had an app to do it, but my friend says, here, take my cable release. So I went down there and I plugged my cable in. So now I'm standing shooting. I don't know what it was. As soon as I did that and I'm holding a cable release, the security guard and the angry woman came over and said, you can't do that. I'm like, come on.
It's the
for 25 minutes you had no issues with it.
It's looking like a professional photographer.
I think that really was. They said,
if you have a tripod, you look like a professional photographer, and that's where a lot of the tripod stuff, aside from health and safety and all the other rubbish, a lot of the tripod-related stuff comes from these places wanting to make money and charging you for a permit to shoot there. So if you look like a professional, this is one of the reasons why I don't like grey lenses. Because if you have a grey lens, it looks like you know what you're doing.
It looks like a pro. A lot of places are getting. They're just getting smart about it. Like I've been to a lot of places within the last few years where you go in and they go entrance fee €5.
Yeah.
Photography fee 12, and I just pay it. I'm like, if you're going to let me set up my stuff, great. I have no problem paying a little extra fee for them to let me.
You get a little sticker.
You get a little thing with a picture with a camera on it and it says it's okay. Hey, can I tell you my favorite bad tripod story?
Please do.
All right. So I'm in Dubai, and so I'm there at an Adobe event. So Adobe had me over there to speak at their event, and Adobe put us up in a really nice hotel. And so my brother went with me and my buddy Jeff. So the three of us are together, and we're staying in this really nice. I think it was the Swiss hotel, very nice. Because hard to find a bad hotel. Now,
I imagine,
This was my first time in Dubai. I didn't know if I'd ever get back there. And I have been absolutely fascinated with the hotel called the Burj Al-Arab. And it is
the one on the on the peninsula?
It's out on its own little island off the
sail thing, right?
Yeah. And it has the helicopter pad at the top. At the very top, and it is taller than the Empire State Building. It's over 100 stories tall, and it is billed as the world's only 7-star hotel. So I didn't know if I would ever get back there again. So I told my buddies, look, I just want to stay there one night. Now, I'm not going to tell you how much it was to spend there one night because it was a stupid amount of money for a hotel room. But I just wanted to do it. I wanted to stay there one night just because I thought I'll never get back to Dubai. As it turned out, I have been back to Dubai. But you know, I just like, okay, this is something I'm willing to do one time. And it was a phenomenal experience. It was a 2-story room and it was crazy. And we had a butler and it was just nuts. So anyway, I want to go. And so there's 2 beaches. So here's the hotel. The public beach is on one side and then the private beach is on the other. Well, of course, the side that you want to shoot from where you get the really great shot is from the private side. The public side, it does look different. It has a different look because the way the thing's designed is architecturally a marvel. So anyway, it gets close to sunset. I go out there and I walk out to the beach. I'm on the private beach and I am a hotel guest. And so I'm like, so I set up my tripod. Dude, I didn't get the 3rd leg out before security was coming from, they're rappelling down from helicopters. They're riding, 4-wheel, ATVs. They're just coming out of every direction, security from everywhere. Now, and now I will say this, the security guard who approached me, because there was a whole crew of them, approached me, was the nicest, kindest, because he knew I was a hotel guest. Because I'm on the private beach. But the first thing he says, are you a guest here in a hotel? Yes, I am. And I showed him my card. You could not have found. He's like, I am so sorry. But we do not allow tripods on the beach. It's just we can't do it. And I'm so sorry. I mean, 1,000 apologies. He was so nice. And I felt like, oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, no problem. Especially you're in a foreign country. They have their own rules. You're like.
And you don't know what the consequences might be.
You do not know. Well. So I'm like, hey, no problem, But so anyway, I was really disappointed because one of the reasons I was willing to spend that money was I knew I would get to shoot from this place that you can only get to. So anyway,
you essentially paid the world's most expensive tripod fee.
I did. So I'm talking to my brother and my buddy, and they go, well, why don't you go talk to the manager or go talk to somebody? So I went and I made an appointment with the head of security. And so I went down there, and he was extremely nice and just very kind. And thank you for coming down. And how can I help you? What can I do? And I told him the story. And he's like, yes, I heard about you. And I said, so why can't? And this ties into what we're all talking about. Why can't I take a picture? And he goes, well, the legacy and the look of the hotel is very important. How it's portrayed and how it's portrayed around the world. And, we're very concerned about, people taking pictures. And, this is the world's only 7-star.
Bad pictures, it sounds like.
So anyway, so I said, so you realize that my tripod, all it does is hold the camera steady. So what you're saying is, you're concerned about how the hotel's pictures are shared around the world. And I said, but if I use my tripod, I'm going to make a beautiful picture and it'll be sharp and still. But you're saying it's okay if I take a picture that doesn't look very good and it's a little blurry and a little fuzzy. So I said, so by not letting me use my tripod, you're saying it's okay to take photos if I hold them by hand. They're not going to look very good, but you're okay with that. And dude, he goes dead silent, and you can see he's looking up like he's thinking.
I can see this guy with smoke coming out of his head now.
He's thinking. And I said, so I can go back to America with beautiful, crisp, sharp shots at your hotel, or I can go back with kind of cruddy handheld shots.
Yeah.
And he's thinking, and he goes, how many shots do you need? And I said, how long? And I said, I don't know, 6 shots, 15 minutes, around sunset. And he's like, he reaches in his pocket and he goes, this is my business card. If anybody stops you, if anybody says anything to you, you pull out this card and say, he said it was okay. So anyway, all right. So Dave, I go out there. Okay, yeah. I go out there, and you got to realize now I've got the guy's card. I'm out there and I'm snapping the legs out so they're loud and Dave, I shot there for however long. Dude, no one ever showed up. No one came. No one asked me for his card. No one did anything. It did come in handy one time. Once we were done, and I have my pictures and I have beautiful shots of it, we go back and then we have to go across the bridge because all our gear's there. Well, the security guards didn't want to let us back to the hotel because they charge, I believe, now this is not up to date. I haven't checked it, but they charge $60 just to go inside and look around the hotel. You can't just show up and be a guest and say, I just want to look around and have lunch.
You can't just say, I need to use the restroom or something like that.
No. It is $60 a person the last time I looked. Now, it's a few years ago. It could be more or less. Who knows what the current thing is.
Probably more then.
Yeah, probably more. But anyway, they had a golf cart that takes you from this entry security area across the bridge and over there. And they were like, well, no, you can't go. I said, but all our bags and our stuff is there. Like, oh, no, I'm sorry. And I went, oh, wait. This guy, and I showed his card, and they're like, okay, come on. And they took me right across. So it didn't come in handy for the thing. But you know what it was? If you just ask and you're going through the extra effort and say, hey, look, I want to come back with a beautiful picture. I stayed here as a guest and all. And they're like, another thing that I've done, Dave, is if you go to the concierge at a hotel and ask them, I want to shoot at the rooftop bar, which is not open. It's closed, and it's not going to be open at dawn. And just tell them the story. I just want a beautiful picture. I've learned that the concierges, they work for tips. They're happy to let you up there. The manager of the hotel doesn't care. He doesn't want you up there. But the concierge is like.
Concierges are very powerful people, and they're very
incredibly powerful, very knowledgeable, and they know everybody. So they know all the concierges at the other hotels. I had one that said, I can't get you on the rooftop, but how about if I unlock a room where someone checked out and you can shoot from their balcony? I'm like, he goes, it's right below the roof. I'm like, let's go. So that's a whole nother world. But anyway, I think that is one of the things that is the greatest power of the Platypod is the ability to get around the tripod police. The tripod police are very real.
Oh, yes.
And they're everywhere.
Very jumped up.
Highly motivated.
On a power trip.
Yes, highly motivated. I had the Washington, D.C. police stop me. And it was weird. I just sat up on a sidewalk in a park, and there's the Capitol way, way down there, and I'm shooting the Capitol, so to speak. Photographing the Capitol is probably a better way to say it. And I'm on a sidewalk, and police come up. Two cops on the bike, say, you can't stand here. And I said, oh, okay. And they're like, and I said, they said, well, because it's a sidewalk and all. I go, and I'm pointing to 2 feet away in the grass. Can I sit up there? Oh, yeah, sure.
Well, that's another thing that relates to various cities around the world, though, is there are some places where tripods are specifically banned. If I look at London here in the UK, the Trafalgar Square and any land that's owned by the Corporation of London, so places like Parliament Square, Whitehall, all those important places where you might want to set up a tripod to take a good photo, there is a bylaw that says you're not allowed to. And the Platypod is a way around that as well. And when you're getting your early morning shots, when you've gone to these places as a tourist or a visitor of some kind, and you're taking a shot of somewhere iconic that's been on your list for perhaps for some time, and you want to get this extra special shot, just like you did at the Burj Al-Arab, you can't go home with a second-rate shot. Either for your portfolio or to show your friends or for souvenirs, whatever. You have to get a good shot. And so knowing how to get a good long exposure shot, to get the colors and the light and everything just right at sunrise or at sunset to make everything look incredible doesn't involve a tripod or a Platypod. And the Platypod, as you said, it fits right in that shirt pocket or in your back pocket, or you can use a carabiner, clip it to your waist belt. And with this new one, the Extreme, I just feel like there's no need for deciding whether I need the Max or the Ultra right now, because this one does everything. The Extreme does everything. The Kickstarter. Let's talk about the Kickstarter for a second. So the Kickstarter's just been launched on the grid, and Larry has an incredible history of Kickstarters, of success with the Kickstarter.
Oh, yes, he is.
Platypod was the last one, but hasn't he broken some records?
Well, he's certainly broken. Oh, yeah. On the grid, we've done...
Fastest photography, fastest products. funded various things.
Because
he's obviously turning out a good product.
Well, it's a good product, and I think that it fits, like you said, it fits a thing that you didn't know you needed until you realize, wow, because you never thought there's a way around the tripod police. Yeah. There's a way I can shoot down really low without having to lay on my stomach. There's a way, there's all these things that you just didn't think about that they're just, there wasn't there. But now this opens up so many avenues. And Dave, what you mentioned that it's got a screw for a tripod head in it, So I'll tell you how I use mine. And so now I have not done this with the Extreme yet, but I do it with the Ultra a lot. But I actually, as I walk around the city, I have my camera, I have my ball head, and my Ultra are all one piece. Mm-hmm. So it's just hanging on my thing. Yeah. So I pick it up, and
I have a Black Rapid strap. That's what I do.
That's exactly what I use, Black Rapid, yeah.
And then it's just there, ready.
It's just there, and it's ready to go. Yeah. And so if I want to set it on a flat surface, I just unscrew there's a knob that you unscrew on the bottom of the Black Rapid, and I sit it there. But having it there, also, when I unscrew it, I can put it on a tripod, because then I don't have to unscrew it, put you know what I mean? You can screw it right onto a tripod. So rather than having to go through all the steps. So it looks, and it probably looks weird to see a tripod and a platypod and then a ball head, then a camera, but it's just convenient. It's just very convenient. And if you look at the, can you hold up the Extreme? It actually tells you with little icons. Can you unscrew the Platypod? Yeah. And it actually shows you probably have it on there like super tight, don't you? He uses his superhuman strength. But if you look at the front of it, hold it like nice up to, there's little icons all over it. And the little icons give you an idea. This is for a strap. This is to put it on your tripod. So it's got these little tiny things, because you're wondering, what's this hole for? What's this hole for? Why are there 4 holes up here? It literally tells you right on it. This is for this. This is for that. And there's so many ways to mount it and hang it. And I think the top one is a beer bottle opener. You just put your...
Yeah, it just fits right in there.
I don't think it really is, but it could.
The thing is, why not?
But you got to realize,
multifunctional.
One of the reasons why it has so many functions is because there's a group of photographers who got onto this early, who are, for lack of a better term, platypod evangelists. We just love it. And Larry, who's the mastermind behind it, and mastermind always sounds like a bad word. That always sounds like something bad, but it's not. But he's taken advice from all of these photographers where they go, it would be really great if we could strap it to a tree. Well, it'd be really great if it had spikes. It'd be great if we could screw it onto a tripod. And they continue to go on and on and on and add all these things. And Larry's like, well, yeah, why not? If it doesn't make it bigger, if it doesn't make it heavier, if it fits within which is what's so brilliant of it fits within the footprint of the original, then I think he thought it was really worth doing. So it does more than you would imagine. Now, you're making a funny face there, Dave.
My camera just turned off.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
I did. It said Nikon Web Utility.
Do you remember when I first got this mirrorless Nikon?
Yes.
And I went to Iceland and I sent you a message, or I called you from Iceland. I can't remember, but we spoke when I was there, and I said, this thing is terrible because every time I change the lens, the dust gets onto the sensor, and there's nothing protecting the sensor. The Canon's got like a curtain, and the Nikon
closes, right? Yeah.
Now door. It's turned off by itself.
Look, these things
not
happen.
Happy, Nikon.
No, Nikon makes a great camera. Don't do that. So anyway, but that's why it has all these little icons and these things, because there's been this group of photographers, because Larry is very open. He really legitimately just wants to make great products. He's a doctor.
He genuinely cares.
He's not in it for the money. He's a doctor. He's printing his own money. But he just loves this stuff, and he gets really excited about it, and he really feels like he's doing something important in the photography space. And I think that means so much to him. I think he really, and if you've met him, he's just a very genuine guy. Everybody loves him. Like everybody that meets him, he's one of those guys who's just very enthusiastic, and he's a pediatrician. right? He helps kids all day long,
yeah,
but he doesn't talk to us like
he
kids.
Genuinely cares.
He doesn't talk to us like kids.
Well, we both do a lot of work with Platypod. I write a lot of blog posts. I test a lot of things out. I show through these blog posts and behind the scenes. I show good uses for the Platypod, and I've had this Extreme for since February. They call it January, since I went to Iceland, and I haven't found anything wrong with it. But it's the same with everything else. When I was testing out the Platyballs and we were talking about how they could work and everything, every part of the journey of creating everything he's made, he's come back and asked for advice from everyone that's going to be a user. And so it was things like, how do the buttons work? Do they feel good? Do you think they work in the cold temperatures? Are they good enough for, clunky hands with gloves on? How do you feel about the grip? Do you think the fluids are okay? Every single thing, he genuinely cares about making the products as best as they possibly can be. You're absolutely right there.
Agreed.
Let's just quickly talk about there's a secret offer that was mentioned on the grid, which is the Extreme is going to come in at $149. The special price for backers with free delivery and a multi-accessory kit is $139. So if you're tuning in just after the grid and you're not sure whether you should be backing this, you should be backing this. And then if you want to save a little bit more money, if you do the Kickstarter deal without the early delivery, so you're going to get delivery, I think late June, early July, that's $119. $119 for one of these. Amazing price. Absolutely incredible price.
But I want it now.
You have it now.
I know. I'm just saying. I want it. I could not wait till June. If I see something I want, I'm like, ooh, I can't wait till June because I have the patience quotient of a hamster. So if I see something, I'm like, oh gosh, I really do want it.
Yeah, I know how you feel. Something shiny, it's got my attention. As soon as it's not shiny anymore, I don't know. What else is there?
But it's like I always tell people, it's not about the gear, right? The gear doesn't actually make the photos, but the gear is a lot of fun. It is a very fun aspect of it. It's like anything else, where whatever you get into, and if this is your hobby, you want gear that makes your life easier. You want it to make it more fun. It doesn't take the picture for you. There's not going to you're to buy a lens, and all of a sudden all your work becomes magical. No matter how much you spend on that lens, it's not going to all of a sudden change your life in any significant way. But all of these things are they make the joy of photography easier. And I love things like the Platypod, where it allows me to do things like, to be honest with you, I'm at that age, I'm not laying on the floor anymore to take pictures. If I'm on my knees, it's a bad day. It's like, nope. And so you know what I do? This is, and I've coined a phrase for this, Dave. I don't know if you heard this. I coined it the other day, and now I'm putting it out there. So, for example, I was shooting in Venice, in a cathedral. And I've got my Platypod, I've got my ball head, my camera's on top, and it's aimed up. And I put it on the floor. Now I have, and this is key, an articulating screen. So the screen pops out so I can see it really well, right? And so what I found that I love about that, now that doesn't make me take better pictures, right? Articulating screen doesn't make a picture look better or worse.
It helps you take the picture. Helps you see the preview screen.
Because without it, I wouldn't be taking that shot. If I didn't have an articulating screen, but then when I put it in place and I think I have it straight, and I look and it's not straight. And then I did something that changed everything for me. I took my foot and I nudged the Platypod. And I could see that when I had it straight. You know what I call it? Photography. Photography.
Wow. We've come to something now. Photography. But everyone's going to be talking about it.
Photography. I'm a photographer.
Are we going to get t-shirts made?
Absolutely. # photographer. So, but that's I don't want people to think that I have a thing about photographing people's feet. It's not that. It's I use my foot to take photography. I literally just would nudge it, and I can see in the screen, nudge it a little more, nudge it a little more.
That's the thing. When you're in these places, so you're inside a cathedral. When you're in these beautiful buildings with exquisite architecture on the inside, firstly, you want to be low, because usually the floor is pretty boring. So if you get the lower vantage point, the floor in the photo takes up a slither of space, and you can concentrate on the walls and the ceiling.
Yes, but
so you need to get down low to take in all that beauty, but then if you get it just a tiny bit wonky, then everything's gone, and to save it in post, you're cropping quite a bit. You can save a little bit with some of
Dave,
the
I've got a secret, though.
features.
There's a secret that people don't realize about this.
Just photography.
No, seriously, this is one of the biggest secrets. And you know this is going to be true when I tell you this. The one thing that getting low does that adds to your photo and actually makes it, Dave is right. It makes your ceiling big. It makes the place look epic. It makes, Dave and I were shooting in the smallest cathedral I've probably ever been in, which was in a children's hospital in London.
Great Ormond Street.
Right.
Is it St. Christopher's Chapel, I think?
Yep, St. Christopher's Chapel. Yep. And it only has 4 pews. That's it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. And we got down low, and it makes it look like a cathedral and not a tiny little chapel, because an ultra-wide lens down low. But here's the down low secret. Ready, Dave? And I think that you know this, but you may not have really paid attention to it.
I'm going to humor you. Please, go on.
Ready? When you shoot down low, the floor, which is a tile floor or whatever, looks reflective. Mm-hmm. You see reflections that you would not see standing up with the naked eye. Like you're looking down at just like a floor. But when you get low, that tile reflects beautifully. It's almost like a pond in front of you, the way it reflects.
Because everything's getting squished together. So the whole length of the floor that you see at eye level is enormous, but it shrinks, it compresses it.
It does.
So the reflections that are there become like intensified and enhanced.
And
they
intensified.
Become so much more powerful.
Yes, and it makes the whole image look that much better. I was in Saint, what's the big cathedral in New York, Dave? St. Paul's? No, St. Peter's, St. Paul's. I think it's St. Paul's Cathedral.
I didn't even know there was one.
No, there's a very famous cathedral.
Oh, the one not far from the library.
It's the one right across from Rockefeller Center. So it is directly across. It's the most famous St. Peter's. I don't know what it's called, but it is a very famous. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it any other time, but it's the big cathedral in New York. It's the most famous. Not the prettiest. It's not the prettiest. I think that's St. John the Divine. Because I found that one with some research, but it is literally, is like St. Patrick's Cathedral. Yes. Thank you, Dave. Okay, so that's a very, very famous cathedral. So I go in there, and of course, tripods are not allowed. No tripods. I go and sit in a pew. I take my Platypod. I get it all set up, get all my settings in, aim it back. Yeah. I put it right. There's a little coin, like some kind of a graphic or something. I line it up right in the middle. I hit my self-timer. Beep, 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 beep. Boom. Picture. It takes the HDR, the 3 frames of my HDR, 2 stops apart. And I was able to shoot there for like a half an hour. Security is right there. Never says a word. Never says anything.
Fantastic.
Never cares. I'm in.
And this is the power of the Platypod.
It is, and you can put it in places. I was in the National Cathedral. I like shooting old classic interiors. So theaters, opera houses, palaces, cathedrals, obviously. I was in which is another quite amazing. If you're ever in Washington D.C., Dave, and since you're everywhere,
I think in April I will be.
Oh, go to the National Cathedral, because it looks like they took a European cathedral and dropped it in Washington, D.C. I was stunned at how incredible it was. Well, it has a main cathedral and all these little ones all the way around it, like in a semicircle. There's all these little ones, and they have a railing there. You can't put up a tripod, but I put my Platypod right on it.
The thing about railings is that you get the curved railings or the rope railings, but those stanchion posts that tie everything together, they've usually got a flat top, and that's perfect for your Platypod.
You were with me in Portugal when I shot a library, and there was rope and stanchion. I just put my Platypod on one of those flat posts, like bink, So you wind up, and I shot all over this palace in Sintra, Portugal. I shot all over that thing with a Platypod, and nobody ever says a word. And you can use photography to straighten your image.
Yeah.
And I think that I've never met someone that has a platypod that doesn't absolutely love it for all of the reasons that we've talked about here and more. Yeah. Now, I don't do the thing that a lot of people do. Like a lot of people go, I'm going to put it in the cockpit of a jet. I'm going to put it in an oven. I'm going to put it in places that nobody else, where you're going to get an angle that you would never think to get, right? And they'll shoot video
so
with
a
it.
Brand new perspective, but I'm with you there. I'm not really.
I want to get low. Or I want to
solve my problem.
I want to, and I've also put mine on a church pew, where I strapped it to, it goes like to the end, and then it has a little post at the end, but they're rounded. Church pews, I don't know why, they're always rounded. So but at the end they have a little block. I just put my thing right on there. So I've just used them in so many different ways. I remember being in Oregon and strapping them to a railing with a waterfall and a little creek and all.
That's what
I normally do.
In Austria.
Yes, in Hallstatt.
Didn't we have a great time there at sunrise, strapping platypods to the railing? And the railing was curved and the round bars and then a curved pole, and we were like, how are we going to do this? And then
and I let Dave mount mine. I was like, Dave, you feel more comfortable with this and mount this, but he did, because my camera is like hanging over the side. If for some reason it didn't hold, it was like,
it was a very long way down.
Oh, but you know what I do?
A very long way. That was that time we saw that dude lying on the floor, though. Do you remember?
I'm gonna see. No, I don't remember.
We had
a dude on the floor?
Dude lying on the floor.
All right, I'm gonna look and see if I can find this picture for you.
We walked through an archway next to the church, and there was a tourist taking a photo lying on the floor, and we were like, platypod. He was literally lying on his stomach like that, trying to get this photo of this church.
Oh, and you're like, he needs a platypod. That dude needs a platypod. Hold on, I want to see if I can find this picture for you.
Another one that I think you've done that I've definitely done, which was one of my favourites, is the Palais Garnier in Paris. In the theatre there, with all the red seats, the red velvet, the beautiful ceiling with the chandelier, all the colours, and that's another place where you're not allowed to use a tripod, and the only way you're going to get a really good, sharp, unnoisy, so clean is the word, clean photo inside there, is if you're shooting on a tripod or a platypod. And so that's one of my favourite places where I've used one as well. What photo are we looking for?
All right, are you about to experience photography? There it is,
that's
bro.
Photography. That's at its best.
That is photography. That is adjusting the Platypod Ultra with my foot. Right?
That's
Come
beautiful.
On. That's you don't get to see that every day. All right.
I love it.
So let me see what else we got. So this is me in the Vatican, shooting on a railing. I've got the Platypod, and I've got a 14 millimeter, and I'm aimed way up at the ceiling because the ceilings are just ridiculous. But if you take out a platypod there, they actually will shoot you. They will kill you inside the Vatican, and they hide your body someplace. It's not very good.
The Swiss Guard. Right. The Swiss Guard don't hold anything back.
This is in a library in Minnesota, right? Where there's this perfect spot right in the middle. This is in the state capital of Minnesota, shooting the rotunda there. This is also in the state capitol. You can see the image on the back of the screen there, because there's just this is a sign that says no tripods.
That's a behind the scenes shot. That's definitely not shopped in afterwards.
Definitely not shopped in. And then so this is the one I wanted to, this is the reason, the one I went looking for.
Hey, so, I know where that is.
I know you know exactly where that is. But here's the thing, and this is what's interesting. I'm scared that I'm on a bridge, cars and trucks are driving by and they're shaking everything. And what I'm scared about is that my platypod goes leaping into the water with my camera and everything. So I took my Black Rapid strap, and look at the little screws on the end. I was able to screw the thing. It's a perfect fit. It's designed for it to fit right in there. So if my camera fell over, it'll only go 6 inches. It won't go off into the water or anything, because I'm wearing around
50, 60 foot. That drop.
Yes, it's well, and plus, if it goes down there, you'll never see any of your gear again. It's freezing cold, and it's it's down in the water, like killer whales, all kinds of bad stuff down there, especially killer whales. But anyway, you notice, you can see there right next to the little red logo, my camera strap is screwed in to the Platypod so it doesn't fall off. So that's typical of the stuff I would do. I mentioned that Lisbon. Here's me on top of rope and stanchion.
Perfect as well. Look at it.
So there's rope and stanchion, and I'm like perched right on top of it. And I think I might have one more. And here's another one in the Lisbon Palace, just on the floor. You can see all the feet getting ready right there for photography.
But
yeah, and it's right. It's it's just. It allows you, and what it is really about these things, and that one, so that looks like my Canon 5D Mark IV. That was before I think I got my mirrorless, maybe, I don't know, I can't tell. You can't tell from just seeing one side of the camera. It's the other side you could really see. But the thing about it is, I wouldn't be taking these shots without a Platypod, because what, if you could, you can't really splay your legs that low. Like, you can take your legs in your tripod, here, let me just stop my share. You can take the legs and you can splay them out far. But you'll never get them quite as low as as a Platypod. Now, we did an interesting thing. So our friend Mimo Madani, who is a very dear friend of us both, and a great photographer. So it was Mimo that started taking very small puddles of water that exist in a city just after a rain or whatever, and he would take his tripod, set it up. He would take the pole in the center out, turn it upside down, put it back through, so you have a tripod and then an arm going down instead of going up. And then he would attach his ball head, attach his camera, and shoot upside down. So he could get low to the water, right? And then make a reflection. And you'd have a puddle of water this big and it looks like an ocean. It's just amazing how it works. But we did a test in Portugal where we put the upside down tripod next to the Platypod to see... Because you're shooting upside down and you have to go flip it up, right side up. And
it's an effort. There's an effort involved,
and the whole thing is an effort in splaying the legs out and all. As it turns out, the Platypod was identical. You could not tell, and you're just like, I will never go through that again. You're taking
that was on that castle thing, wasn't it? By the bridge.
Exactly.
Sunset. That was beautiful.
The castle by the bridge, Dave. That's the one.
At the sunset. That's the one.
At sunset. Yes, we were all. There was a beautiful night. And Robbie Pisco was there, which makes any night beautiful.
Oh, we had the best dinner that night as well in that big abandoned hall restaurant thing with the candle wax everywhere. That was a good one.
Yes, it was. Yeah,
I think
we've had a lot of great team epic trips.
I think we're due another one.
We are definitely doing another one.
It's been a while.
Dude, let's do it. Let's do one this year because of the pandemic. Absolutely. We missed 2 years in a row. It's time. Let's pick a great location.
We need to get out there and do some photography.
Yeah, photography. I would say, Dave, to pick some place you've never been, but I don't know if that's even possible. Dude, you've been everywhere.
I haven't been to Greenland. It's on my list.
I'm not going to Greenland. That's
too
far.
Cold. Yeah.
Actually, no, Greenland's not too cold.
Greenland's
Iceland's
not far.
Too cold. No, it's really. I guess not.
Wait,
I guess it seems
they're about the same.
You've never been to Greenland, right?
No.
That sounds interesting. Greenland's supposed to be gorgeous.
Yeah,
Greenland,
icebergs, the red sailed ship, all the typical stuff.
And Kathy's right there in Ireland. How far can it be to Greenland?
That's not far. Surely
you probably drive. You drive, right?
So anyway, I think that pretty much brings us to time. I don't know how long we've been going on for, but
it's been a minute.
Needless to say, people need a Platypod, and they need a Platypod Extreme. So they can go to platypod.com if they want to join the Kickstarter for the Platypod Extreme.
Kickstarter. Just
do the Kickstarter. $139 for early delivery with a multi-accessory kit. $119 without the early delivery. Regular price $149. So yes, you need a Platypod Extreme. And this episode is sponsored by Platypod. I must say that Platypod are the world's most compact tripod base. If you want to join in the conversation, share your photos with us of what you get up to with your photography, with your Platypod, you can join facebook.com/groups/Epic Photography Podcast, or find Epic Photography Podcast on any social media platform. So I'm Dave Williams.
I'm that other guy.
And this has been a fantastic episode. Thank you very much for joining us.
Williams.
We'll catch you next time. See you later.
Peace.
Peace.